Three Georgia teens are now behind bars and facing murder charges after what officials call a lover's quarrel and a plot to egg someone's home that went too far. It happened on July 3rd in Spalding County, about an hour south of Atlanta. Investigators there say three teens, 18-year-old Sydney Maughon and 19-year-olds Jeremy Munson and McKenzie Davenport, were throwing eggs at a home in the city of Griffin. Midway through this incident, 22-year-old Johnathan Gilbert came out of the home unarmed to confront these teens. Now, according to Spalding County Sheriff's Office, Gilbert, who is also known by the name Tyler Lane, approached the group as they began driving away. That's when investigators say Maughon pulled out a gun and began shooting. The suspects then drove off and left Gilbert behind to die in the road. Officials say he suffered multiple gunshot wounds. Witnesses later contacted the authorities, who used a cell phone number to track down the suspects. They were arrested in nearby Henry County, and all three are now charged with malice, murder, battery, and criminal trespass. Maughon and Munson are also charged with aggravated assault and possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime. So to give us some insight into this bizarre case, psychiatrist Dr. Angela Arnold joins us now. Thank you so much for your insight today, Dr. Arnold.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's start with this case. It's so bizarre, okay? It started with this lover's quarrel, but officials haven't given any real specifics. What do you think it could mean with that term lover's quarrel?
Well, a lover's quarrel, and we're thinking there are three people, and then another guy is the victim. So it sounds like there's a spat between a couple of different couples, doesn't it? Maybe it's not just the girl and the guy that were involved with each other. It sounds like there were some other people involved in it also. To me, that's how it made it sound to me. So a lover's quarrel, but maybe there were more people involved than just the two lovers. That was my initial take on it.
Yeah, what I think is interesting about this is that local TV stations down in Georgia are reporting that the home belonged to Gilbert's mother. So she said that he was in town from Texas visiting at the time he was shot and killed. So is it even possible that he wasn't targeted at all and it could have been kind of a miscommunication?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. I think they probably had more communication than we know about than that. I have a feeling they knew he was there. But my question is, who goes out to egg a house but they bring a gun with them? Who does that, right? Is that typical behavior? So why did they go and target this particular house? That's what makes me also think that they knew that he was there, because this particular house was targeted. So it wasn't really a teenage crank. So then I wonder, did they target this house because he was there, and did they egg the house to draw him out of the house, knowing that they were going to fire some shots at him?
That was going to be one of my next questions because, as you said, these are like teenagers. I mean, technically adults, 18 and 19 years old, but egging is kind of more of a juvenile practice, I guess you could call it. So it's interesting that they would go from egging and something like ding dong ditching almost, and then they're committing murder. Is that something that normally happens with people who are young doing something kind of basic and then it leads to murder?
Well, I don't believe that that kind of escalation is normal. So I think that's why I think they had a plan and a plot in all of this. First of all, where did they get the gun? And then don't you have to wonder about something about premeditation with this? Why did they bring a gun with them? You know, we're not talking about the city of Atlanta. This is an hour south of the city of Atlanta. You don't really hear about a lot of crime down here. It's a very rural area. The streets are very dark at night. But I truly believe that they targeted this person, and that's why they went. Why would they egg his mother's house? What would they have against his mother that they would egg his mother's house? And as you said, it's a very juvenile type of behavior. I don't believe that it escalated as they were. I believe they planned this. I believe that they thought about this, and they thought, let's send some eggs to this house. Let's see if he's there. Let's pull him out and we're going to shoot him. And I have a feeling that as text messages come across and as they investigate their cell phones further, we're going to find out a lot more information about this. But I have a feeling the egging of it, of course, that makes us all, everybody has egged a house, everybody has TP'd a house. But like you said, we do it when kids do it when they're young, okay? But that was not the focus of what happened here.
So I think in a lot of your questions, you're pointing to a lot of question marks we still have in this case. I mean, we're talking about this lovers quarrel. That's really the only thing we have to base anything off of besides like another motive. We're not sure what it may be. So is that really the only thing that we can point to now? Or would you assume that later on we could learn more details? There may be a different motive, more people may be heavily involved, anything like that?
Well, I don't know how many more people may be involved. I think that we could narrow it down to these four people, but something set these folks off, okay? And this guy was a little bit older than them and he didn't live here. He lived in Texas, so I'm very curious about the nature of the what he played in the relationship in this lovers relationship and who was angry. But I'll tell you, I have a deep suspicion that there is so much more to this. This is going to unravel. This is going to unravel a story like no other. To think about how deep this is, because why does someone go out and shoot someone dead? Right? So what I'm saying is there had to be a lot of very strong feelings involved in this. And I mean, honest to God, I can't wait to see, you know, they can make up all the excuses that they want, but you and I both know that when forensics gets involved and they start looking at the text messages that have gone back and forth and whatnot, we're going to discover something very deep and sinister about this relationship of these four people.
I think another interesting aspect of this case is that we've got two young female suspects. So, generally on Law and Crime Network, we cover cases that primarily have male defendants. So, this could be maybe where your expertise comes in. How is it that two young women are getting involved with such a brutal crime?
Well, it sounds like somebody in this scenario was scorned in some way. So someone was a scorned lover, perhaps, and the other girl went along for support. Because oftentimes girls support each other, don't they? And I'm sure they had been discussing this. Somehow someone was wronged by this person. At least they felt like they were wronged by him. Again, all such immature activity and then shooting someone. But you have to even, I mean, did they mean to kill this guy? How angry were they at him? The facts show that they brought a gun to this and somehow in the dark shot this person and left him for dead in the road. So there was a lot of anger in this.
So let's talk about that actual part of the crime, the murder itself.
Mhm.
Investigators point out that Maughon is the one who pulled the trigger, but they also say all three are responsible because they went to the house to commit a crime, this vandalism of throwing the eggs. Does that add up that all three should be charged with malice murder?
Well, I am not an attorney, but it is my understanding it's just like a bank robbery. If someone's the driver of the car and someone goes in and actually robs the bank and somebody's the lookout, everybody participated in that together. And that's much what this is like. They all participated in this. I mean, I'm sure they all knew there was a gun in the car and they all had to go, somebody had to go in the grocery store and buy the eggs. But all of these people were participants in this. And so, yes, they will all be charged. And it's a shame that they didn't realize that, but they were all knowing participants of this activity.
If we're looking ahead to a trial with these three defendants, is there something that we should be considering on the psychiatric side of things as far as a defense? Anything that jumps out to you that they may use?
Certainly, they are not going to be able to use any kind of insanity defense. No one, I can't even imagine that they would even try to do something like that. I think they're going to be very hard pressed to find anything psychiatrically to say about these people, because it all doesn't it seem so planned to you. They found the house of the mother, somehow they knew that this boy was there, they brought a gun with them. Everything was very planned out. I don't believe that they're going to be able to have any psychiatric issues associated with this.
Dr. Arnold, you've really given me a lot of things to think about with this case that's still in the really early stages. So we're going to
Mhm.
continue to follow it. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Right now, all three defendants are being held in something called pre-trial detention ahead of their future coming court date. Reporting for Law and Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.